The Game Boy Advance is a great system with a ton of popular games, but often people forget that there were over 1200 GBA games released during its life cycle. And while titles like Pokemon and Fire Red are a lot of fun, those are only a small fraction of what the GBA has to offer. So in this video, I'm going to go over some truly hidden and underrated games that you probably won't see anywhere else. Coming in first, we have Danny Phantom Urban Jungle. This game is a side-scrolling shooter, which is probably not what most people would be expecting from a Danny Phantom game, but it's honestly very fun and it has a ton of different bosses and power-ups to keep you busy. In terms of the visuals, the game looks vibrant and has plenty of detailed characters, which is always a nice bonus. Now, it is important to know that this game also released on the DS, but I personally think the GBA version is the better one to play, so if you like shooters and something a little less common, Danny Phantom Urban Jungle is a really solid title. And up next, Boulder Dash EX. I found this game while trying out my EverDrive, and I was really surprised with how addictive the gameplay was. Boulder Dash is a 2D maze puzzler that was actually first released on the Atari, and this GBA version is that exact game but with a complete overhaul. The goal of this game is to avoid obstacles while collecting diamonds that open up an escape route. Also, just on a fun side note, this game does have multiplayer with up to 4 players, which isn't anything big, but it's still nice to have. So if you want a puzzle game that you can play on the go, Boulder Dash EX is a fun title to pick up and play. And moving along, we have TMNT. When this game released, it was very clear that Ubisoft took heavy inspiration from Konami's prior TMNT games. The gameplay takes the form of a beat 'em up while fusing together some different RPG elements, which helps add a nice level of replayability. In terms of the graphics, the pixel art is top notch, and it's clear that Ubisoft saved the best TMNT version for the GBA, as the other consoles don't look nearly as polished. Although, one thing to note is that this game does not include multiplayer co-op, so sadly it's only a single player experience. But still, for those who want a fun Turtles beat 'em up, TMNT on the Game Boy Advance is a worthwhile title to check out and play. And in next, Iridion 2. This title is a shoot 'em up with plenty of weapons and levels to keep you busy. Iridion 2 is a direct sequel of Iridion 3D, which also released on the Game Boy Advance but was lacking in gameplay. Luckily though, the developers came back with Iridion 2, which has a lot more content and variety to keep players interested. Also, on a cool little side note, when a player completes a level in arcade mode, they are given a code that can then be inputted into the publisher's website to compare scores online. And believe it or not, this website is actually still up and running, which is just something I thought was pretty cool to see. But anyways, if you do like shoot 'em ups and you want one that is both graphically impressive and fun in terms of gameplay, I think Iridion 2 is worth a try. And the next game is Rhythm Tengoku. Many compare this game to titles like WarioWare because of its focus on micro games, but this game is actually more based off of rhythm and timing. Players get to try their hand at tons of different micro games that all contain plenty of variety and quality music. Now, this game isn't Japanese, but that doesn't really matter because none of the micro games display much text, if any at all. So if you like micro games and you want something that isn't WarioWare, Rhythm Tengoku is one you've got to check out. And so next is Shining Force Resurrection of the Dark Dragon. This game is a remake of the original Shining Force RPG on the Sega Genesis, and it has been given a complete graphical overhaul. Along with this, the GBA version has a lot of quality of life improvements regarding experience points gained and magic attacks. Resurrection of the Dark Dragon on the Game Boy Advance is a fun tactical RPG that has plenty of interesting mechanics to keep you interested, so if you want a graphically impressive RPG with lots of depth, then Resurrection of the Dark Dragon is a perfect game for you. And next up, River City Ransom EX. This one's another remake that comes from Atlas, and it's a faithful reimagining of the original River City Ransom on the NES. It's a beat 'em up that has plenty of RPG elements as players fight enemies and gain money to buy upgrades. On top of this, the game also lets you free roam around and pull off a set of different attacks. River City Ransom EX on the GBA is an excellent title that has a nice set of remastered graphics, so if beat 'em ups are your thing and you've never tried the original game, I highly recommend you give this one a go. And so the last and final game on this list is Kururin. Now, I put this one as the final game on my list because it only released in Europe and Japan, meaning there's probably a good chance some people here haven't heard of it. And that's a shame because this game is a really unique and addictive puzzler that offers a ton of different mazes. In Kururin, you have to maneuver a stick through different mazes without touching the walls, which is a lot easier said than done because the stick is continuously rotating, leading to many tricky mazes and puzzles that will take you many attempts to figure out. Additionally, the game also does feature multiplayer, which puts 4 players against each other, and it only requires 1 game cartridge, so if you enjoy puzzle games and you want something a little less common, Kururin is a good game to check out. And well, that concludes my list of some worthwhile GBA games that others are probably not chatting about, but like always, I'm sure that there's some titles I am forgetting, so if you have any recommendations, please be sure to let me know down in the comments below. And with all that said, I just want to say thank you for watching this far. Please subscribe if you like my content, and I will see you soon. Bye.